In the last section, we made our first request to Imgur. In this section, we'll explore the endpoints we'll be using to get info for our app. Let's look back at our mockups and identify what sources of data we'll need. On the far left, the first page shows us a list of topics or categories. We'll need to fetch the topics that show the topic name and the topic description underneath it. On the second page, we have a list of all the images that are within a topic. And finally, on the last page, we show an image at the top with the comments that belong to that particular image. So we can kind of get into our head that a topic, on the far left, has many images, and each image has many comments. Let's open up the Imgur API documentation and see what we have to work with. So on the left-hand side, we're looking at API endpoints, and then we'll click on topic. So these are all endpoints on the Imgur API that we can send HTTP requests to and get back some amount of data. You'll see here that the very first API that's listed is default topics, and the description is get a list of the default topics. So this sounds pretty close to what we want here. It's really important to note that each endpoint tells you what type of data is you get in your response as well. So you'll see here it says response model, and if you want to, you can click on it, and this is the model for a topic. So the data that we get back is going to have an ID, name, description, some CSS, and Boolean here. So let's go back, and we're going to copy paste this URL here into Postman, and we'll send, and terrific. So the top level, we have an object. The object has a key of data, and data is an array of objects. Each object represents a particular topic. You'll notice that the topic itself follows the model topic that we were just looking at. So there's the ID, name, description. And you'll see that the name is, say, funny, awesome, the more you know, etc. So this looks great. We now know how to fetch topics, and we know what the response looks like. On the left-hand side up here of Postman, I'm going to click on Collections, and then I'm going to click on New Collection. I'll create a new collection called Imgur, and then I'm going to save this request to Imgur. So I selected the collection Imgur, and then I'll just say add to collection. And all this does, this is just a tool within Postman so that we can save the requests that we've made into a particular collection right here. So in the future, if I ever want to, we can just click on get topics, defaults, and then click send, and poof, we've got all of our response data right here. So it just means we don't have to copy paste in the URL again. Okay, so now we know how to fetch a list of topics. Next thing we need to do is figure out how to get a list of all the images within a topic. So if we go back over to API documentation, well, this one's kind of easy. It just so happens that if we fetch a gallery topic, we'll get all of the gallery items that are within that topic. So this is the endpoint we'll need to fetch all of the images within a topic. You'll notice here that the URL that we have has a topic ID that we'll pass in and a sort and a page. Sort and page, if you look down at the bottom here, are optional, so we're not going to provide a sort and a page. We're just going to use a topic ID. So we will copy paste the URL and paste it up at the top. Really quick here, note that one of the available topics in my case is ID 2. So up here for the topic ID, we'll just enter 2. And that means that we're going to fetch all the images within the category funny, or at least the first 100, not necessarily all of them. So let's send. And okay, we get back a object with property data. Data holds an array of objects, and each object represents a single image. And so we get stuff like the ID of the image, title, description, whether or not it's animated, etc., etc. So if you scroll down, you'll see that there are many images, and these are all images that are within the category or the topic with ID 2. So let's go ahead and save this one. We'll add it to Imgur again. And again, we're just saving these just to keep us from having to go back and copy paste in the URL and whatnot if we ever want to refer to this in the future. So now the last thing we need to do is figure out how to retrieve the comments associated with a single image. So let's look at our documentation again. And this one's a little bit buried, but we'll click on Gallery. And then we're going to find, scroll down here a little bit. We want to find album image comment right here. So album image comment. And this is information about a specific comment. Not quite what we want. Comment on an image in the gallery. This is what we want right here. So this will give us all of the comments that are attached to a particular image. So let's go ahead, and again, this has sort on here, which is an optional parameter. Let's grab this last URL. I'm going to copy it, and you'll notice that this time again we need a URL or an ID. In this case, it's going to be an image. So let's copy paste that, and I'm going to take this ID right here and replace the bracket ID with the image ID. And then we'll go ahead and click send, and terrific. So here's a list of all of our comments. It's an array of objects, and each object represents a single comment. And you can also note that each comment can have children. So the top level comment here has children, which is its own list of comments. And it's basically a recursive structure where each comment can have child comments. And looks like there's several in here. And eventually, well, you can kind of get an idea that the comments can be highly nested in here. Okay, so we'll save this one, add to collection. Great. And unfortunately, I did a bad job. I didn't change the name here on the left, but if we click on each one, we'll see that the URL updates. So if we ever need to, we can go back and refer to a particular request if we want to review how it's made or any of the available parameters. So using API clients like Postman is a really fantastic way of debugging issues between the client and our server. There's a couple of clients out there besides Postman, and I highly recommend trying them out, finding one that you like. I've used Postman for a while now, and it's just one that I enjoy. So in this section, we got a sense of the 3 different requests we'll be using to fetch our data from Imgur. Let's continue in the next section.